Hey everyone, how are you doing? Today is Tuesday, and I'm Angela, your sub-host, and today we get to do, or this week we get to do Choose Your Adventure. So the subs get to pick from the topics that have been covered so far in the year, and there's three that I want to talk about. So there was, at one point during the year, there was the question about transition from solitary to family practice. The person who asked the question was a solitary practitioner for 10 years, but now wants to include their family, spouse and children, and how do you go about doing this? So I think one of the ways you involve your family is to not really first, you don't have to have them do things necessarily to be involved. This could mean that you have sacred space in the house that is communal. For example, if you were to set up something in your kitchen, a little shrine or area in the kitchen, the hearth of the home. Like for Greeks, we put isthia in the kitchen usually. And if you even look at the Greek Christians who are Orthodox, the kitchen is also always an important place where they put icons, the candle, the hearth candle. It's always there. If you look at the Orthodox Christians in Greece and in the diaspora here, they have the candle usually with the Virgin Mary, and that is just a continuation of a hearth practice that goes back to antiquity. So you could do something like that. Have something in the kitchen that is communal, that is shared, and maybe if you want to incorporate the family into that, you can have one of the children light the candle, for example. Little things like that, just to have have something visually present in the house for them to see and on occasion engaged with. That is one small way to get them engaged. Also, if you do some more formal ritual practice, you can also want to maybe include them somehow. Offerings, have the entire family provide like some sort of offering, like if it's once a month or something, burn incense, think like little things. It doesn't have to be big. So just think small. Think small. Don't think huge, big, and elaborate stuff. Start small. Offerings, lighting candle. Number two, there was a question asked about what's the difference between orthodoxy and orthopraxy, how we understand that. And I feel like we've talked about this before. And so for, orthodoxy, orthodoxia is correct belief, and orthopraxy is, proper behavior, proper action. And the difference between that and in our practice, people always say when they talk about paganism is orthopractic. It's more about orthopraxy than orthodoxy. It's not about the right beliefs, and it's about the proper ritual actions. That is a pretty good general statement. But I really do think there is some level of orthodoxy in paganism, if you want to talk about Hellenism, for example. And it's not not orthodoxy how you normally think of it. It just means that when I say that there is some level of orthodoxy in Hellenism, it means, what I'm trying to say is that it's not a free-for-all, that you can do whatever you want and have certain ideas, promote ideas, or advocate for ideas that are not harmonious within the tradition. So, if you say, Zeus is da 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 da, or whatever, if you promote material, or you advance an idea about the gods or about how to do things, yeah, no, you can't just, I have a gut feeling and this is okay, or do this or do that, it has to be in harmony with the wider tradition. So for me, that would be sort of like orthodoxy, in the sense that there's a common idea, a common worldview. It's not about belief and professing the correct belief, but it's about a common understanding. and that if you are promoting things that are against the common understanding or how a community views things, approaches things, then that is quote unquote orthodoxy, but very loose sort of orthodoxy. So yeah, to me that is some sort of level of proper understanding or proper worldview thinking, proper how we see things. But orthopraxy is also like the correct way to do ritual, correct way to libate, correct way to those behavior actions. That is orthopraxy. The third thing that we had here was how did we come to our tradition that we're practicing? How did it appeal to us versus others? I've talked about this I think before, but for those who haven't heard, so it's very simple. There's not a lot to talk about, like how did I find this practice or why did I come to it, because as you have probably already known, I'm Greek. I say it all the time. I'm Greek. I practice the Greek tradition. I practice Hellenism. Why? The answer is it just makes sense, for me to do it than anything else. Growing up Greek, this is what you are exposed to on some level. Even if you're the Orthodox Christian Greek person, even though they're not like grown up to worship Zeus, they grew up knowing Zeus. In Greece, there's people who live on the footsteps of Mount Olympus. There are people who live in the shadows of these ruins, of these temples. There are people there who are very passionate about those things on all sorts of levels, and it's just part of the psyche of the contemporary Greek on some sort of level. When I was a child, I remember going to our family home in Greece, and you open the window from the house, and the background is the mountain where Hercules, wrestled the boar, one of his 12 labors, and so my father telling me that when I was 7 years old, hey, this is where Hercules did one of the 12 labors, that is the path, that is part of that path of Hellenism, an identity, but also a history, and that telling of the story. So the Greek tradition is a no-brainer. Actually, it was a brainer, I guess, because I didn't get to there yet. It took a while for me to actually get there. I kind of took the long way around, I say, and was looking at all sorts of things and exploring all sorts of things, and then finally I settled down and figured out Hellenism is a viable option, and it is something I'm very interested in, and it makes the most sense because given who I am, my history, and identity and ethnicity, this is a practice that is natural, comes natural. I look at things, I read things, and just it clicks. I get it. When I read certain things or I study the books, I study the religion, I study things, a lot of it clicks, and so I'm this makes sense for me to do this. So that's what's most appealing, that it makes sense, it feels natural, it seems proper for me to be doing this than anything else. And so those are my answers to those 3 questions. So thank you everyone for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, leave it in the section below. Thanks.